Climate change is a serious global environmental issue of this century. Changes in climate have impacted natural and human systems. Effects of greenhouse gases and climatic changes are already resulting in the gradual global warming. Global climate is expected to warm 1.4 to 5.8 degrees Celsius over the century. Due to changes in climatic variables, possible impacts may include coastal inundation, health risk, increase in heat waves, droughts, floods, cyclones, wildfires, vector-borne diseases, epidemics, coastal erosion due to sea level rise, ecological degradation, biodiversity loss, monsoon irregularity, etc. Impacts of climate change in Karnataka state. Clearance of forests for cultivation in earlier decades has a lasting adverse impact on the carbon sequestration potential, high variability in spatial and temporal distribution of rainfall over the state. The state has experienced climate hazards like a series of droughts 2012 to 2019 as a result of deficit rainfall, prolonged dry spells due to flood 2013 to 2020, landslides 2017-2018. The state has almost 80% of its area susceptible to drought, 22% of the area prone to moderate earthquake, 24% of the area prone to cyclones and heavy winds, and approximately 30% of the state's slopes prone to landslides. Impacts of climate change on these sectors. Agriculture sector. Agricultural production in the state has been varying from the year 2000 due to the changes in the weather parameters. Reasons for decline are attributed to shrinking land-man ratio, depleting vegetation cover, inadequate and unpredictable water resources, high dependence on rainfall, and increasing production costs. Variations in the weather parameters have major impact on agronomic operations, growth response of a crop, and its performance. The crop models predict gain-loss in productivity, resulting in the extinction of a few local varieties and traditional varieties like paddy, banana, mango, and vegetables, etc. Animal husbandry sector. The increased incidence of floods constitutes a potentially lethal threat for all kinds of livestock. A changing climate with altered feed resources can adversely affect the immune system of animals, leading to more incidences of diseases and lower productivity. Extreme hot and cold climates in particular result in increased occurrence of vector-borne diseases. Coastal and fisheries sector. Climate change would impact fishery-based livelihoods among coastal communities as a result of sea level rise, thermal stratification, ocean acidification, precipitation and freshwater availability, which may result in the imminent danger of erosion of few islands, erosion of coasts, and increased incidence of toxic algal blooms and shellfish poisoning, and destruction of coastal infrastructure. Water resources sector. Karnataka is experiencing a decline in net annual groundwater. The climate change impacts on stream flow and water availability were analyzed at selected locations using the climate projections under two scenarios, RCP 4.5 and RCP 8.5. Overall, the projected mean annual rainfall in the state under the RCP 4.5 scenario is likely to increase by 5.16% and 10.55% during 2021-2040 and 2041-2060 respectively. Under the RCP 8.5 scenario, it is likely to increase by 8.85% and 17.24% during 2021-2040 and 2041-2060 respectively. According to the KSNDMC 2020, it is observed that the quantum of annual rainfall is increased in South Interior Karnataka and Malnad regions and decreased in North Interior Karnataka and coastal regions. Although the annual rainfall is likely to increase in the state, the distribution of the rainfall is known to be changing with the increase in the extreme precipitation events. Health sector. Climate change affects the social and environmental determinants of health. Between 2030 and 2050, climate change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year from malnutrition, malaria, diarrhea, and heat stress. Vector-borne diseases are highly sensitive to climate change, and the prevalence of major diseases like malaria, dengue, cholera, typhoid, etc. Forestry sector. Anthropogenic factors and incidences of natural calamities like wildfires, floods, and landslides affect the forest structure and sustenance. The impact of climate change on forests in Karnataka is assessed using latest Codex Regional Climate Model under two RCP scenarios, RCP 4.5 and RCP 8.5 for 2030s and 2080s respectively, and a dynamic global vegetation model. Vegetation change is projected for grids falling in the districts of Bijapur, Raichur, Koppal, Bellary, Chitradurga, Kodagu and Hassan districts, which means that the future climate at such locations would not be suitable for the existing vegetation and biodiversity. The Karnataka State Action Plan on Climate Change reported that around 38% of forest area in the state would be hit by climate change by the 2030s, which will lead to the loss of 33% biodiversity in the Western Ghats by 2050. Energy sector. The impacts on energy sector are rather indirect, as regulation of indoor temperatures require the use of air conditioners and other gadgets. The impact on this sector is additional expenditure on their manufacture and supply requirements, which once again demands further energy. This may lead to impacts on the state economy. Effects on livelihood due to climate change may include variation in intensity and distribution of the monsoon, which will negatively impact the livelihood. Heavy rainfall over a shorter season may lead to frequent floods and droughts. Changes in temperature and rainfall may have long-term impact on agricultural productivity. Causes changes in breeding, migration, and distribution of many species. Becomes a strong factor in uncontrolled migration of populations from climate-sensitive regions to the regions with lesser impacts. Building the capacity for societies to adapt to climate change is a key challenge for all communities and government.